Welcome to the presentation on the updates we have made to submitting certain reports on Birdie. As you will have seen from my email, we have updated the way in which you submit certain reports to the office through Birdie. This affects are accidents, incidents, seizures and unexplained marks or bruising. Through the presentation, I will go through the definition of each report and how it is submitted to us and the information we expect to be included. So we will start with accidents. The definition of an accident is an event that results in injury or ill health to a carer or client or any client fall. So if an event leads to yourself or the client being hurt or unwell in any way, this would be reported as an accident. Or if the client falls, regardless of the outcome, this would also be reported as an accident. If an accident occurs, you will need to alert the office through Birdie that this has happened. I will now go through a short video to show you the updates Birdie have made to reporting accidents to us. You will start a visit on Birdie as normal and click Raise a Concern. Choose Accident and then the relevant category. You will then be asked to choose the severity of the accident, then choose the Public option so that those involved can see this. You will be asked who was involved in the accident. For this example, I have recorded that only the client and his daughter were present for his fall. The carer did not witness it. You will then be prompted for the date and the time of the accident. If you are unsure, give a rough estimate of the time it happened. Then the location, so where the accident occurred. You will then be asked to describe the accident. I will give detailed guidance on the information that should be included in these reports later in the presentation. You will then be prompted to fill in a body map if required. You will give detail on the injury. Please give as much detail on the injury as you can. Once this is completed, you will submit the report. This will then be processed in the office. We may need to contact you further for more information on updates to the client or your own well-being. We will now move on to incidents. We have defined an incident as an event that, whilst not causing harm, has the potential to cause injury or ill health. So this may be a client drops a saucepan of boiling water on the floor, but does not drop this on themselves. No harm came to the client and therefore this would be classed as an incident. However, had they dropped it on themselves, there would have been injury. I will now show you another video of how to submit an incident report to the office. As before, you will open the Birdie app and raise a concern. Choose Incident and then the relevant category. Choose the severity and then click the Public option so those involved can see. You will then be asked who was involved in the incident. For this example, I have recorded client and carer were both present. Then record the date and time of the incident. Again, if you are unsure of the precise time, give a rough estimate and you can add in the notes later, morning, afternoon, for example. Then the location where the incident occurred. You will then be asked to describe the incident. Further information on this will be given later in the presentation. There is an option to include a body map. However, if there is an injury to report, this would go on an accident report. Once this is completed, you would then submit your report to the office. If you find that a client has an unexplained bruise or mark, this should be reported to the office. By unexplained, we mean that you or anyone else involved in the client's care, including the client themselves, do not know how this mark or bruise occurred. I will now show another video detailing how to report this to the office. Start your report and raise a concern, and then this time choose Other. You will then be asked for the type of concern. This is where you would write unexplained bruise or mark. You will then be asked to choose the severity and then click Public. You will then be prompted to fill in a body map where you will give detail on the bruise or the mark. Please give as much detail as you can, including the location, the size and the colour. Then click to add this to the report. You will then be asked to give a description. This is where you should include what you have done to find out how the bruise or mark occurred. For example, speaking with the client and their family or contacting a GP. Once you have done this, submit the report. The last update is the way in which you report when a client has a seizure to us. This will be done in a similar way to reporting unexplained bruising or marks. Again, I will go through a video. Start your visit on the app, raise a concern, and again choose Other. You will be asked for the type of concern. For this report, you would write seizure. You will then be asked the severity, and again choose Public. You will then be prompted to fill in a body map if required. You will then be asked to give a description. This is where you should include the date and time of the seizure, how long it lasted, and if any further medical attention was required. We would also like to know what was happening prior to the seizure and how the client was afterwards. Once this is completed, you will then submit the report. When recording details of an event, we need to know as much detail as possible. So we will need to know who was involved, were there any witnesses, give detail on who these were, exactly what happened, give as much detail as possible surrounding the event, including the injuries, also what was happening before the event and what happened afterwards. So if the client fell, how did they get up, and any other relevant information. We will need to know where it happened, so if it was in the client's home, what room of that house it occurred in, and then when, giving detail of the date and time that event occurred, and lastly, what action you have taken, if any, or what action you intend to take. Was a GP called? Is a district nurse going out? Did 999 need to be called? Is the client going to hospital? And are you looking for updates once the client goes into hospital? We need to be aware of much information as possible so that we know how to action that event. So, as a recap, we need to be made aware of who was involved, what happened, so before, during and after, where did it happen, when did it happen, and what action, if any, you have taken or you intend to take. If you have any questions, however, please do not hesitate to call the office. If you are unsure how to report an issue or what information needs to be provided, we are more than happy for you to call and discuss this with you over the phone. Similarly, if you need to report something urgently and want to speak to someone in the office, that is absolutely fine. We understand that there are some situations, perhaps the client is being taken to hospital following an accident, and you are unable to submit a report on Birdie. That is absolutely fine. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact the office and discuss these with somebody.